Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the first official State of the Municipality with our new Mayor, Andy Fillmore. Now, we don't always do this, but we're in turbulent times, so I would ask you all to please stand if you are able for the playing of O Canada. Thank you very much, everyone. I'd like to acknowledge that all of us here are in Mi'kma'ki, the unceded and ancestral lands of the Mi'kmaq people. And it is my duty as a citizen to better understand the historical impacts of colonization in this country and how those impacts continue to affect the First Peoples of this territory today. We are reminded that treaties rooted in peace and friendship were signed, which bind us all as treaty people with rights and responsibilities to each other. In order to accept my role in reconciliation and acknowledge this territory with any meaning, I must first understand the truths of our shared history. Reconciliation is a journey of many steps on an unclear path that we must all chart together. There are no shortcuts. Thank you to Chamber Board Member Wyatt White with the Confederacy of Mainland Mi'kmaq for helping us with our land acknowledgement and for coming to our office to teach our staff about the importance of these acknowledgements. The Chamber's annual general meeting is coming up on April 30th, where we will welcome our 2025-2026 Board of Directors, and we look forward to introducing them to all of you over the coming weeks. And I'd like to thank our partners for supporting today's event, our co-hosts, the Halifax Partnership, and we will be welcoming their CEO, Wendy Luther, to the stage shortly, our presenting partner, RBC, our host partners, the City of Halifax, and the Nova Scotia Association of Realtors. And as a special treat, you'll find wonderful Prescott Group cookies on your tables for you to enjoy and perhaps purchase later at the great North End Baking Company on Prescott Street. You can check out the QR code on the packaging for more information about the Prescott Group. And we're excited to welcome Mayor Fillmore, sorry, I can't get his name right. Excited to welcome Mayor Fillmore to his role. We've had a strong relationship with the municipality for many years and look forward to continuing that relationship with the mayor, CAO Kathy O'Toole, and all of the departments within the city. The mayor and Kathy spoke at our economic forum just a month ago to talk about tariffs and productivity and how they're impacting the city, and I'm sure that those will be mentioned, unfortunately, yet again. We've had a long relationship with Mayor Fillmore in his previous role as Member of Parliament for Halifax. Along with many examples of collaboration with the mayor, he was one of the active participants in our COVID-era Nova Scotia Business Labour Economic Coalition, which we affectionately called NSBLEC. We met daily for many months to collaborate with all levels of government, business associations, labor representatives, community groups, not-for-profits, and more to access real-time updates on the evolving changes of the pandemic and provide feedback on government programs. We're grateful for Mayor Fillmore, for his time and his availability then and now. And with the current geopolitical threats and tariffs, it's important we keep lines of communication open to be ready to respond and keep our businesses and communities informed of changes as we move forward. Halifax, Nova Scotia, and Canada have been strong partners with the United States for many decades, and we have a lot to offer, not only the United States, but the world. We can strengthen our economic position at home and globally if we seize the opportunity before us. The city is growing, new buildings and businesses are popping up, and we're making large infrastructure investments. In the Chamber's recent municipal pre-budget submission, we focused on a few key issues in our recommendations. The first was taxation. Steadily increasing commercial taxes burden property owners and impact the local economy, investment attractiveness, and the overall financial well-being of residents. We continue to advocate for a balanced approach that reduces the municipal reliance on property taxes. The second and third areas aim to address the challenging task of identifying cost savings within HRM's budget process. By prioritizing efficiencies and exploring innovative approaches to service delivery, we can better manage staffing resources, helping to limit the burden of additional staffing costs. Finally, by supporting HRM's Office of Major Projects, the municipality can ensure that our major infrastructure projects are completed on time and on budget. These efficiencies are critical to mitigating the need for tax increases in the future. Our policy and research team worked hard on the submission, and I'd encourage you to take a look at it at halifaxchamber.com. Now, please join me in welcoming our co-host, Wendy Luther, CEO of the Halifax Partnership. Wendy.
Wow, good morning, everyone, and thank you, Patrick. We are delighted to once again be co-hosting this important annual event with the Halifax Chamber of Commerce. Again, a huge thank you to today's sponsors, presenting sponsor RBC, and host sponsors, the Nova Scotia Association of Realtors and Halifax Regional Municipality. Also, a big thank you to the Halifax Chamber of Commerce and Halifax Partnership staff who worked diligently behind the scenes to make today's event possible. I'm Wendy Luther, President and CEO of Halifax Partnership, Halifax's public-private economic development organization. For 29 years, Halifax Partnership has been advancing Halifax's economic growth by attracting global business and talent to our municipality and helping our local businesses and communities thrive. We settle for nothing less than a vibrant and prosperous Halifax for all. A big shout out to our board chair, Donna Alteen, founder and CEO of Time and Space Media, our past chair, Corey Bell, and our many board members and Halifax Partnership investors here with us today. Our investors fund us, govern us, and guide our work to grow a vibrant and prosperous Halifax. We couldn't do it without you and our many partners. I'm delighted to be here today as we mark Mayor Andy Fillmore's first annual State of the Municipality address. It has been an absolute pleasure to work with our newly elected mayor and council. Halifax Partnership and HRM are true partners, and we work closely on many initiatives that drive and support our city's economic growth. Together, we lead People, Planet, Prosperity, Halifax's inclusive economic strategy to 2027, which aims to grow Halifax's GDP and population to support continued economic and business success while improving residents' well-being, which is ultimately what economic development is all about. This year, Halifax Partnership is leading the Productivity Puzzle, a series of events, discussions, and research designed to highlight and spark a broader conversation around the significance of productivity, why it matters for Nova Scotians, and how improving it will strengthen our economy and our quality of life. Nova Scotia's productivity challenges are complex. Advances on many fronts, from taxes and regulation to competition, trade, and labor, are needed to improve performance and raise living standards. Turning the corner will require insights and innovative solutions from you, our business, government, post-secondary, and community leaders. We had an amazing launch event on April 3rd featuring a keynote from political journalist Andrew Coyne, followed by an engaging private sector panel. Our next event in the series is on June 5th, where we'll unpack the interconnections among trade barriers, competition, regulation, and productivity, and discuss potential solutions. This event, hosted in partnership with the University of Calgary and the Public Policy Forum Atlantic, will feature a keynote by Trevor Toome, professor at the University of Calgary's Department of Economics and the Director of Fiscal and Economic Policy at the School of Public Policy. Dr. Toome will bring his expertise in international trade and interprovincial trade to issues that are top of mind for all of us during these uncertain economic times. Data and research are critical to our work at Halifax Partnership. And on June 19th, alongside our AGM, we will release the 14th annual edition of the Halifax Index, presented by TD Bank, which provides an overview of our city's economic and community progress while offering important insights to strengthen and grow our city and business community. Now, here's an interesting fact that will be shared at the index. The latest estimates from the Conference Board of Canada show that Halifax's real GDP grew by 2.6% in 2024, and Halifax accounted for 99% of that provincial growth last year. So, I'm clearly a bit biased running Halifax's economic development organization, but in order for us all to succeed and meet our full potential, Halifax needs to grow, Nova Scotia needs to grow, and indeed all of Canada needs to grow for us to do better and better. Now, registration will be open soon for both events at halifaxpartnership.com, and I hope you will join us. As we look ahead, we're faced with tremendous uncertainty as we size up the economic impacts of tariffs between Canada and the US, and Canada and China, as well as unpredictable international relations and shifting trade dynamics. Halifax Partnership's role in leading Halifax's economic development and growth has never been more critical, especially as we help businesses understand and mitigate impacts. Halifax Partnership's Smart Business team is helping Halifax businesses access new global markets and diversify their supply chains and revenue sources. And a big thank you to the province of Nova Scotia for helping support that work for many, many years. Our team was just in the UK last week to develop and strengthen business ties in Portsmouth, England, Halifax's sister city and economic partner. Halifax Partnership has always been at the forefront of bringing people together to transform challenges into opportunities. Halifax's remarkable growth is a testament to our collective hard work and ambition. We envision a Halifax that continuously grows, is vibrantly alive, attracts young talent, and remains a sought-after destination for business. Working together, we'll be able to reach and exceed this aspiration. Thank you very much, and please enjoy your lunch.
Okay, let's get this started, everybody. Just give everybody a second to sit down. I could tell a few jokes. Say how happy I am that we finally have a mayor whose hairstyle I can emulate. Sorry, Mayor. Okay, welcome back, everyone. Hope you enjoyed your lunch. Thank you to the Halifax Convention Centre team for their excellent service and food. The food at the Convention Centre is sourced mainly from local suppliers and is always amazing. And if you liked that lunch, we should have you join us for our unique dining experience at our spring dinner on April 30th, titled In Our Own Backyard, Celebrating Nova Scotia's Food Economy. It's going to be awesome. We have the tasting this Thursday, where I get to taste all 7 courses of the food. Well, I'm really looking forward to it. Halifax Convention Centre is working with local suppliers and our event speakers. You'll be able to find them from the QR code, from the stand-up thing on your tables, and you'll be able to see what's going on. Please don't miss it. It's now my pleasure to introduce the Chamber's Chair of the Board, as Anne Devine comes to the end of her term as chair. I very much enjoyed working with Anne beyond just the last year as she's been chair, but for her many years on the board. She's a wonderful person and great business leader, and even during the most challenging times, she sends us wonderful, uplifting emails on Friday afternoons to make sure that we have great weekends. And recently, she was featured in the March-April issue of Atlantic Business Magazine in their Small Business Spotlight. Please join me in welcoming the Halifax Chamber's Chair of the Board of Directors and CEO of Ashanti Leadership, Anne Devine, to the stage.
Thank you, Patrick. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm so pleased that you've chosen to spend your time here with us today. Mayor Fillmore has had a great first few months, and I look forward to seeing what he, the council, the municipality staff will have to accomplish during their term. On behalf of the Chamber Board of Directors, I'd like to thank you for joining us at our 25th 2025 Annual State of the Municipality. It's an exciting time to see the growth of Halifax, the development since I came here in 2004, and I don't want to go back to those days because those of you who knew me knew how much I cried and complained. I cried for 10 years and I complained. But I'm so proud of Halifax now. I can raise my chest and I can say to my family, come and live here, but they're reluctant to do so. Our growth has been tremendous and our cultural diversity has been amazing. So thank you to all those who've decided to make Halifax their home. With our newly elected council and mayor at the helm, it is now their responsibility to keep the city growing and sustaining in equity and inclusion, and I applaud them so far for their efforts. As a small business owner myself, I'm eager to see the continued changes in our municipality's taxes, the reduction in red tapes, increased efficiency for permitting, and more supports for small businesses like myself, and I'm looking straight at Mayor Fillmore. As Patrick mentioned, relationships with our southern neighbor are evolving, and it's a time of uncertainty, and it gives us a chance to rely on our community and so that we can support each other. My encouragement to you today is that Canada is still a country that upholds human rights. And if we were to treat each other with respect and dignity, as it is written in the United Nations Declaration for Human Rights as the #1 article, then I believe as Canadians, we have nothing to fear. Canada is still one of those countries that has a Multiculturalism Act, which came into effect in 1988. And all around us, in all our provinces, we all have Human Rights Act. So let us remember that and not be fearful of what our neighbors are doing. We know how to treat each other with respect and dignity. At the end, thank you. At the end of this month, which is in a couple of weeks, we will be welcoming the Chamber's new Board of Directors for 2025-2026. And I'd like to thank the Chamber members, the board, the staff, and the supportive members that we have in our community here for supporting me during my role as chair this past year. I look forward to the official transferring of the chair, the board of the chair, to the Honorable Joanne Bernard at our annual general meeting on the 30th of this month. Joanne is the CEO of Easter Seals. Joanne will be an incredible leader of the Chamber members, and the business community. She's a passionate advocate for accessibility and employment equity, and has a history in politics as well. I encourage you to get to know Joanne. She is an amazing person, and I know you're going to have a wonderful year, as I have had. Please join me now in welcoming our presenting partner for today's event, Kelly Sohill, Regional Vice President, Business and Financial Services with RBC. Thank you, Kelly.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Anne, for the very kind introduction. Patrick, Joanne, Wendy, and to all of our guests, hello. I can't tell you how fantastic it is to be here and to see all of you. RBC has sponsored this event since the beginning because, like each of you here today, we are invested in Halifax's success. While we have grown to be Canada's biggest bank and one of the largest in the world, we never forget our roots. This city was a primary market for us 158 years ago when we started as the Merchants Bank of Halifax, and it still is today. It is our largest market in Atlantic Canada and is home to 15 branches, 2 commercial banking centers, small business, financial planning, and mortgage specialist teams, a private banking and Dominion Securities office, an on-campus branch at Dalhousie, our Atlantic Regional Headquarters, and our Innovation Hub in Bedford. And I'm proud that our employees not only provide exceptional advice and guidance to our clients, they live, work, and contribute to historic, cultural, and the social fabric of our city. When Halifax grows, it opens up doors of other growth, and RBC is a great example of that. The city's economic diversification, the talent coming from our post-secondary institutions, immigration, quality of life, and more have given us confidence to invest in new ventures, to create new jobs, and to build for our future. For example, it was a driving factor behind why our innovation hub set up shop here. And what an incredible success story that has been. What started as an initial commitment of 500 jobs is now 1,100 strong and still growing. And it includes, it's such a source of pride for us, and it includes roles that would have national and also global scope. Building and preparing for the future is something that is top of mind for our keynote speaker, the Mayor of Halifax, His Worship Andy Fillmore. Prior to being elected as mayor last October, Andy was Member of Parliament for Halifax and the first city planner elected to Canada's House of Commons. In his 9 years as MP, Andy was champion for issues around infrastructure and housing, science and research, national defense and shipbuilding, and the environment. Before politics, Andy spent 20 years as a city planner and community builder in private, public, and academic sectors. In fact, he was Halifax's first manager of urban design, where he led the development of the city's award-winning downtown plan, for which he actually received a National Urban Leadership Award from the Canadian Urban Institute. He attended Acadia University and also holds graduate degrees from both Dalhousie University and also Harvard. Andy, we are all anxious and very excited to hear your perspective on the state of our municipality, and we look forward to seeing the great things that you will accomplish as you move into the second half of your very first year as our mayor. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming our mayor, Andy Fillmore.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. It's such a great privilege to be with you all today. And let me say to this beautiful gathering of community leaders, of business leaders, and most importantly, residents who make the Halifax Regional Municipality the remarkable place that it is, thank you for being here. Your commitment is what drives our work at City Hall forward. And speaking of City Hall, I want to acknowledge, I'm so pleased that almost the entire Regional Council is with us here today. So is the Chief Administrative Officer. A number of city staff are here as well. So team, thank you very much for fitting this into your day today. It's really wonderful that you're all here. Thank you. And in fact, you know, there's enough councilors here that we could actually have a meeting and get some things done today. So if you have any ideas, please share them with table 21 over there. I want to also welcome my friends from the provincial government who are here today, including Deputy Premier Barb Adams, Minister Kent Smith is here, MLA Tim Outhit, and the Leader of the Opposition, Claudia Chender, is here. It's also great to see former Premier Stephen McNeil and former Premier Ian Rankin are in the room today as well. Thank you very much for all being here today. And I have to ad lib because I also saw former Premier Darrell Dexter in the room as well. Darrell, sorry to miss you there. Great that you're here. And I just want to say a big thanks to our co-hosts today, the Chamber and the Partnership, and as well, Kelly and the sponsorship of RBC is so important for this annual event. Thank you as well. Well, now, my friends, we all know that this is a pivotal moment for Halifax. The world has discovered us. We're growing by leaps and bounds, and families are relocating here, businesses are moving here from across Canada and from around the world. Even in the face of shifting economic fortunes and global events, Halifax has continued to grow. Both our downtown core and our suburban areas are flourishing with new businesses, new housing, new opportunities, that all make our region even more dynamic than ever before. We are a vibrant city with a growing population, labor force, and GDP. In 2024, Halifax's population crossed the 500,000 mark with 502,000 people. Our GDP was $24.8 billion, up from $2.6 in 2023, and this means that our capital city is half of our provincial population and half of the GDP of the province as well. And more good news, Halifax is getting younger. The latest stats show that the median age has dropped to 39 years, which is the lowest figure since 2009. And we also had the highest number of births in a decade. But these aren't just numbers on a page or charts in a report. They represent the hard work, the determination, and the ingenuity of Haligonians who are committed to making our city better for everyone. Because of the high number of strong sectors calling Halifax home, we have one of the most diverse economies in Canada, which sets us up so beautifully for the future. That includes IT, financial services, life sciences, academic research, ocean tech, clean tech, tourism, security and defense, transportation and logistics. It goes on and on and on. There's so much more as well. And as we can see all across the municipality, there are billions of dollars in construction underway all around us. What an advantage this is for our city as we enter a period of uncertainty. As we look to develop new economic partnerships here in Canada and around the world that align with these diverse sectors and these diverse strengths. But coming back to Halifax for a moment, I'd like to name a few of the exciting things that have happened over the past year and that are coming up. This past June, Halifax hosted the Sail Grand Prix right here in the center of Halifax Harbor between George's Island and the McDonald Bridge. This was the first Sail GP event to take place in Canadian waters, and fans had so much to cheer about on both sides of the harbor. We're proud to welcome the Halifax Tides to our community, a founding team of Canada's first ever women's professional soccer league. The Tides kick off their inaugural season on April 26th, right here at the Halifax Wanderers grounds, where, by the way, we can all catch the home opener of the Halifax Wanderers FC on April 19th as their 7th season gets underway. And Halifax came alive with performances and events during the 2024 Juno Awards, celebrating Canada's top musical talent. Yes, putting our city on the national stage. There's some fans. Very good. NATO's Defense Innovation Accelerator for the North Atlantic, or DIANA, established its North American regional office in Halifax this past September, one of only 2 in the world, and it's just a few short blocks from here. Halifax beat out other North American locations because of our vibrant science, technology, and research community, and because of our strategic importance as the home of Canada's East Coast Navy, the home of the 5th Division of the Canadian Army, and the home of 12 Wing Shearwater, the Air Force Base. But what is Diana? Well, Diana is an incubator, an innovation incubator whose mission is to accelerate the development of dual-use technologies, that is, those that can be used in both the civilian and in the defense sectors. It does this through a network of accelerator sites, one of which happens to be at the Center for Ocean Ventures and Entrepreneurship in Dartmouth, right across the harbor. And speaking of defense, Halifax International Fleet Week is a biennial event that celebrates the Royal Canadian Navy and its international allies. It features ship tours, musical performances, and community activities, and the second International Fleet Week is coming back to Halifax in June. Halifax Stanfield International Airport continues to attract new air services to our communities. This year, Halifax will be connected to 11 European destination airports, up from 7 in 2024, with record airline seat capacity, including to new destinations in Zurich, Amsterdam, and Barcelona. And this also means that there will be, so thank you. I saw Joyce Carter and her team are here, so thank you for the incredible work you're doing. This also means that there will be 25% more seats in the summer for European travelers coming to visit us, which we'll be very happy to welcome here at home. And how about those Mooseheads? My goodness, the Halifax Mooseheads made history last week, beating Drummondville in a huge first-round upset. Now it's off to the second round tomorrow night, right here at the Scotiabank Centre, so go Moose, go. Yeah, come on, we can do this. The Sheet Harbour Chamber of Commerce is celebrating its 90th anniversary later this month, and I'll be there to help celebrate. And the 140th annual Halifax County Exhibition will happen in Middle Musquodoboit in August. I'll be there as well. On and on it goes. There's never a dull moment in HRM. There is so much across our municipality to take pride in. And yet, we can all feel that there is uncertainty in the air. These times are not business as usual. Global economic trends continue to buffet us, whether it's the cost of living or obstacles to business expansion, the ever-changing tariffs, or the ways in which nations relate to each other globally. We feel these challenges every day. They're not abstract. They can be very, very personal. John W. Gardner famously said, "History never looks like history when you're living through it." Well, we're all living through a historic period of rapid change and global uncertainty right now, and it's impacting us in many different ways. But if there's one thing I know about Halifax, it's that we are a resilient city. Our businesses, our communities, and our people have faced challenges before, and we have risen to meet those moments every single time. And I know what makes this city great because I was lucky enough to grow up here. I went to Tower Road School and Halifax Grammar, Goresbrook and Queen Elizabeth High School, before earning degrees in architecture and city planning from Dalhousie. Then, like many of us at that time, I had to leave Halifax to find work, which I found in Boston, cutting my teeth on large infrastructure projects like the Big Dig. But in 2005, I heard the call to come back home. And I was hired as our city's first manager of urban design, helping to create our city's first regional growth plan, and then leading the HRM by Design plan that helped to unleash development in our downtown. Those were very good years for Halifax. So many people, so many of them in this room, worked really hard to set the conditions for the current success that we enjoy, and I honor them. In 2015, I was feeling very strongly that Halifax needed to have a bigger voice on the national stage and discussions in Ottawa, so I ran for and was elected the Member of Parliament in Halifax. And as you heard, it happened that I became the first city planner, to my surprise, ever elected to serve in the House of Commons. And together, the people in this room, the people outside of this room, we moved Halifax from being one of the least invested in federal ridings across the country, out of 338, into the top 10 of the most invested in ridings across the country. And like each of you, we all worked hard together, my goodness. And like each of you, I love this community. I love this beautiful place and these brilliant people. And I wanted to play a part in continuing to make it even better. And so last year, when we all learned that Mayor Mike Savage would not be reoffering as mayor, I again heard the call to come home. Because as well as HRM has done, we're still growing fast, and there is still work to do. During my mayoral campaign last summer, I spoke about the need to take charge of growth before it takes charge of us. That means making sure that Halifax remains a city where people can afford to live, find a home, and get where they need to be on time. These aren't just policy goals. They're the building blocks of a city that works for everyone. And so today, in my first State of the Municipality address as the Mayor of HRM, my goal is to share with you the 3 areas of focus that will unwaveringly guide my work as your mayor. And as I talk about each of these 3 areas, my hope is that you will ask yourself how you can be part of the collective commitment to work together to build a stronger and better Halifax. From Hubbards to Sackville, from Dartmouth to Ecum, wherever you may live. In order to unlock the next wave of opportunity for our city, we need to address 3 foundational challenges. All 3 of them affect you, whether you live in an urban or a suburban or a rural area of our municipality. And I'm calling these 3 areas of focus the meet the moment priorities. These are the areas where we can and where we must do better. And I'm committed to working with the Halifax Regional Council, with city staff, with the members of the provincial government here in Nova Scotia, anyone who wants to work with me to tackle these challenges head on, because we must get them right to build the city of Halifax and the municipality of Halifax that we all want. So let's start with the meet the moment priority 1, which is affordability. Now, in these times, all of us in this room and beyond it understand that the cost of living for our community members is top of mind. And Haligonians rightfully expect the municipal tax dollars to be spent wisely. We know that we can't burden property owners with increased taxes when expenses are rising across the board. Residents and businesses have no more room to absorb tax hikes. During our recent budget process, we heard the very plain truth that tax rate increases translate directly into rent increases, and we simply can't be asking tenants to pay more in this current economic climate. At Council, we understand that we need to take bolder action to respond to the fiscal constraints that the municipality itself is facing. We cannot keep asking residents and businesses to pay more of HRM's operating shortfall. Just as the people of Halifax are doing, we need to tighten our belts and make strategic decisions about where our resources are best allocated. As elected officials, we owe it to the residents of HRM to do everything we can to better manage our expenditures and to begin a long-term process of targeted expenditure reduction. Something that I heard often on the doorsteps of homes and businesses from thousands of people while campaigning to become your mayor was, please don't raise the tax rate. And just last week, Halifax Regional Council passed a budget for the coming year with a 0% increase in the tax rate. That's such an important step in ensuring that HRM residents remain in an affordable place to live and to do business, and I really want to sincerely thank my colleagues on the council for working so hard and helping to make that happen. I'm also working with my council colleagues to increase transparency in how we govern, and that includes the spending of tax dollars, where we need to make sure that every dollar goes toward delivering the core services that residents deserve and expect. My commitment is to maintain a balanced approach, keeping taxes low while investing in the critical infrastructure and services that make Halifax an exceptional place to live. So that's how I'm thinking about managing spending at City Hall in order to keep life affordable for everyone. And let me say, I and your council don't have a monopoly on good ideas. If you have good ideas on how to keep life affordable in HRM, please let your councillor know. Let's move on now to meet the moment priority 2, which is housing. Housing affordability remains one of the most pressing issues we face. More people are choosing to call Halifax home, and so we have to be sure that our housing supply keeps up with that demand. Together, we need to create a Halifax where finding housing is not only possible, but affordable, because housing is fundamental for economic growth. Housing for people, whether that's people in need, employees working for large or small companies, new Canadians, healthcare workers, empty nesters, or families looking to live and learn in our city, all of whom are looking for different kinds of housing. So we need housing all across the housing spectrum, whether that's deeply affordable housing or apartments or townhomes, condominiums or single-family homes. And through strategic partnerships with the private sector, with the not-for-profit sector, and with the other levels of government, we'll continue to expand housing options to make sure that we have both the quantity and the type to meet the needs of our growing municipality. And how will we do that? Well, there are 4 things that we can do better at City Hall right now to build more homes faster and at a price that people can afford. Number 1, faster permits and approvals across the board. Number 2, open up lower cost land to development. Number 3, focus affordable housing efforts on existing housing stock. And number 4, build with innovative construction techniques. So what does all that mean? Well, faster approvals means removing regulatory barriers and modernizing permitting processes at every turn, whether for single-family, multi-residential, office-to-residential conversions, whatever it may be. Opening up low-cost and underutilized lands to development through strategic rezonings and pilot projects that incentivize their development means lower-cost housing, because when the land is cheaper, the home costs less. Applying the dollars that we have for affordable housing to already built homes yields 2 to 3 times more housing than applying those same dollars to new construction, because the current cost of new construction at $311 a square foot is simply not affordable. By allowing innovative construction techniques like factory-built modular and mass timber, we can reduce the costs and the carbon footprint of housing across the municipality. But right now, there are unnecessary 20th century policy roadblocks preventing widespread use of these 21st century technologies. But with small, targeted policy changes, like modifying the center plan to allow the economical construction of mass timber mid-rises, like removing the requirement for full concrete basements beneath prefabricated and modular construction, with these and others, we can open the door to new ways of building homes, ways that are faster, sustainable, thoughtful, and designed with people and with budget in mind. So if we want to increase our housing supply and keep up with the needs of our growing city and our current economic realities, we need to be sensible and we need to be bold. And that means making smart, flexible updates to our planning rules, not 5 years from now, but right now. Because innovation is ready, builders are ready, so we have to get going at City Hall. Each of these 4 things, faster approvers, lower cost land, using existing stock for affordable housing, and allowing innovative construction will not only accelerate home construction, they will directly and significantly lower the cost of housing. And that means lower mortgage payments, and that means lower rents. And we can and we must make these changes now. Let's move on to the third and final meet the moment priority: mobility. A fast-growing city like ours needs a transportation system that works for everyone, whether by car or by bus, by bike or by foot. Haligonians deserve a reliable way to get where they need to go and to get there on time. So now more than ever, we need to ease congestion, improve transit, and make optimal use of every inch of width in our narrow streets. Well, that's why the Windsor Street Exchange is one of those infrastructure improvement projects that we just had to figure out how to move forward with. That intersection is the busiest intersection in Atlantic Canada, with more than 175,000 vehicles per day passing through. That's goods, people, and services. The very wheels of our provincial economy roll through the Windsor Street Exchange. Well, the goal of that project is to improve the movement of people, goods, and services through the area, and also to improve safety for all of its users, and to add transit priority lanes. It's a massive undertaking, and there will be disruptions and there will be inconveniences. But we know how to do these big projects. As it happens, 20 years ago, in 2005, I was the HRM planner who wrote the first draft request for proposals for the Cogswell Interchange project. And a couple of years later, in 2009, we entrenched our citizens' vision for the district in the HRM by Design downtown plan. However, it was a project that almost didn't happen. As I was cleaning out my desk at the city in 2012, preparing to move on to the next stage of my career, I noticed that the Cogswell project was sliding off the agenda and that it might never happen. So in 2013, I and Joanne McCrae, who's now the Chief of Staff in the Mayor's office, realized we were going to have to shake things up a little bit to get the project back on the agenda. So we created a public visioning event we called simply the Cogswell Shakeup to revive interest in the project, and we invited Halifax's then newly elected mayor, a young Michael Savage, to join me as co-host. Over 100 people from all over HRM showed up, students, professionals, designers, and builders, and regular folks, and they brought with them their dreams and their ideas about the future for this neighborhood. And together we put the Cogswell Interchange back on the agenda, improved with ideas from the community that remain present in the project to this day. So you see, to make these kind of transformational changes in our city, we need to be thinking on the scale of decades. We need to act now or problems will only get worse. We need to invest now or problems will only get more expensive. And we need to dream now or opportunities, whatever they might be, may pass us by. I envision a city where public transit is the easy and reliable choice for commuting. This means continued investment in bus rapid transit, more accessible transit options, and more ferries as part of a smarter, more sustainable transportation network. Just imagine a bustling harbor full of aquabuses and water taxis, and both publicly and privately owned, crisscrossing between destinations to all points on the harbor, like Shannon Park, like Herring Cove, like McNabb's Island. And I imagine that every time I look out on our beautiful harbor. So these are the three meet-the-moment priorities that will guide my work, our work, at City Hall for the coming years: affordability, housing, and mobility. By focusing on these three critical areas, we're laying the foundation for Halifax's future. At City Hall, we need to say yes to affordability, we need to say yes to housing, and we need to say yes to mobility. By doing that, we can make sure that growth benefits everyone and that HRM remains a place of opportunity, innovation, and thriving communities today and well into the future. My job at City Hall is to improve municipal systems to deliver better outcomes for people every day in their lives at a cost that they can afford. I want to say that again because I think it's why you elected me. My job at City Hall is to improve municipal systems to deliver better outcomes for people in their lives every day at a price we can all afford. And I know that's what Halifax Regional Council is here for too, to work together to build the best HRM that we possibly can. So how will we get there? Well, we need to shake things up a bit as we work toward solutions. We can't keep on doing things the way we've always done them. We have to work effectively with Premier Houston and his cabinet and the provincial government to align our efforts and programs because we have shared goals and outcomes that we must deliver on together. We also need to be sure all three orders of government are operating within their respective mandates to avoid duplication of effort, which leads to increased costs and ineffective delivery of services. We also need to track our progress in new and meaningful ways. It's very important to understand how we're measuring success and how we're using data and evidence to inform the decisions that we make at the city. Tracking our progress correctly means being accountable to residents, and it means we'll deliver effective programs at good value for money. Here's a great example. We've always used the number of units with zoning approval as a measure of progress on getting homes built. And by that measure, sure, there are lots of units with zoning approval all across the city, thousands of them. But obviously, no one can move into a zoning approval, and you can't raise your family in a housing policy. So we should be measuring our progress with the number of occupancy permits issued, because that's when housing becomes real, and that's when differences are made in people's lives. And there are many other metrics like this that we can improve to make sure that we're delivering the core services that you expect and making a difference in the lives of Haligonians. And we have an enormous opportunity, literally growing by the day, to use data and artificial intelligence to help us work smarter to solve the challenges of our growing city. And that's why I'm launching a mayor's task force to understand and then act on how we can use artificial intelligence and data to improve core service delivery in the years ahead. My friends, Halifax has a storied history of confronting challenges head-on and emerging stronger. Time and again, we've demonstrated that we can overcome adversity through long-term planning and collective determination. And I'd like to remind you today of a story that's familiar to most of us in the room, but one worth retelling. The story happened here over 100 years ago, but its lessons are relevant and instructive and even poignant today. In 1917, a year before the end of World War I, 400 acres of the north end of our city were erased from the map when two ships collided in the Narrows. It was the largest human-made explosion in the history of humanity. Many of us know this is the story of the Halifax explosion, but there's a part of the story, other than the destruction, that we don't tell often enough. It's the story of how our community came together after the explosion to rebuild. It's the story of our regeneration, and it goes like this. 2 weeks after the fateful day of the explosion, with the wreckage of the city still smoldering under a new blanket of snow, a civic poster began to appear in store shop windows and on buildings around the city, which read, "We shall never rebuild Halifax unless everyone works." It's a poster that was rediscovered by and revived by a printmaker in Halifax several years ago. I have one hanging in my home. I know many of you have one too. But then just 2 years after that fateful day, in 1919, another civic notice began to appear in Halifax newspapers proclaiming the following. "Stand on a vantage point and view the north end of Halifax now. Men say the age of miracles is past, but there is a vision of regeneration here that fringes on the miraculous. Ruin and desolation have given place to the new order. A new city has risen out of the ashes of the old. We rub our eyes and we look again, but the vision does not fade. The city remains and grows, building by building, street by street, amid the tumultuous music of 1,000 hammers and the wholesome discord of 1,000 saws." It's such incredibly beautiful prose, capturing the spirit of the moment so perfectly. And regenerate we did, and grow we did. And here we stand in 2025, and it's our turn to come together again to address the challenges of this moment. These are the stories that define Halifax, not just our challenges, but our unwavering belief that a better future is possible and that that future is not built alone. It's built by all of us working together, listening to each other, and ensuring that we create a city where everyone has the opportunity to be a part of Halifax. These examples carry a fundamental truth within them. When we're united with purpose, we can surmount any obstacle. The challenges before us today, be they affordability, housing, or mobility, or tariffs, are formidable, but they're not insurmountable. They demand a shift in mindset from frustration to determination. Determination to do better. We can do better, and we will do better, and that requires that we shake things up. This is a time of change in HRM. Our city is different today than it was in 2009 when our urban core was dying. It's different than in 2014 when we were dealing with net youth outmigration. It's different in 2020 when the pandemic had all but shut us down. Heck, it's different than it was a week ago. But just look at what we've done together. Our municipality is in the midst of an incredible renaissance that is the envy of other Canadian cities. The youth population is growing, and HRM is becoming younger. And we've rebounded from pandemic shutdowns, and we are open for business. Now, I applied to this job to make a difference to the place we live and the place we love, to make that place better. I won't always get everything right. So I'm asking for your patience, and I'm asking for your support. Throughout my career, I've dedicated myself to building stronger, healthier, and more connected communities. And now, together, we have the opportunity to make the next step in making Halifax a city that works for everyone, both today and in the years to come. Halifax has so much going for it. Let us draw inspiration from the things that we've gotten right and channel that energy into the challenges that we face today. Because together, we have the power to shape Halifax into an even better city. The path forward requires collective action, innovative thinking, and an unwavering belief that, yes, we can make meaningful change here. So let us together once again make the tumultuous music of 1,000 hammers and the wholesome discord of 1,000 saws. Let us together in 2025 say that we will meet the moment. Let us together aspire to look back on this time and be able to say that, yes, indeed, in 2025, we did meet the moment, and look at how far we've come. Thank you very much, Halifax, and let's get to work.
Thank you very much, Mayor. That's great. I'm invigorated. I love the Halifax explosion poster, and the one that says we will all work. No, how does it go? We won't work until everybody works.
We shall never rebuild Halifax unless everybody works.
Everybody works. Yeah. And we stole that during COVID. and we reprinted it and we put it in the paper and we added the word together to the bottom. So we said, sorry, the line again is?
We shall never rebuild Halifax unless everybody works
Together.
Exactly right.
So anyway, it was a great initiative during COVID, and great words to live by. So thank you very much for that. I want to jump into a few questions. We're probably going to go over a few minutes because it's important to get some good questions out there. So this is your first State of the Municipality since taking office. Have there been any aspects of the workings of the municipality that surprised you surprised you since becoming mayor?
Well, every new job has its surprises. I'll start with that. I had a bit of an advantage having been an employee at the city for about 7 years beforehand. So, I had presented at council and defended my work in different ways in the community and before the council. So those processes were familiar to me. But what's really exciting, I think, for this council, and I'm looking right out at them here, is that, with the exception of one councillor, David Hensby, the entire council was either elected with or after the previous mayor. So this is the first time there's been a new guy. So we're working around that, and nearly half of the council itself is new. So there's 17 of us all together, 8 of us are new. So we have a beautiful opportunity here to forge the path that we choose to do together. We're finding our ways of working together. I'll admit that there have been some bumpy moments as we storm and form and norm, but that's perfectly normal, and that's really good. We all need to bring passion to this job.
Right, absolutely. And I would say thank you to you and to the council for having that, as you described today, that long-term view, which is so important. We don't want to be stuck in a 4-year cycle. It's important to have that long-term view for city building. Yeah. So great. The city has frozen the tax rates in the current budget, which is great. However, businesses and residents are still seeing an increased tax bill of slightly over 4%, as the tax rate's only half the equation and assessments continue to raise. What steps are you planning to manage the overall tax burden for Halifax residents and businesses as affordability, as you pointed out, remains an issue?
Thank you, and I'll begin by again crediting my colleagues on the council for helping us to keep the tax rate flat this year. That was a very important signal, I believe, to send to community that we are listening and that we have affordability in front of mind. There are 2 things I'll mention, though, that I am hoping to position effectively to make sure that life remains affordable. The first is, and I've talked about it often during the campaign and since, which is this notion of a third-party value-for-money audit on HRM processes and spending. This is something that will help us to uncover not just efficiencies, but also whether or not the programs we're undertaking are effective, and might even give us some clues about how we might redeploy resources to be more forward-facing to deliver the services people need, whether those are financial or human resources. So that's one thing. The other is I brought a motion to the council just last week, the day that the budget was approved, so that we could right away start looking at next year's budget. And that forward look has to do with a lot of things, finding efficiencies within our organization, but also, and very importantly, diversifying revenue, finding ways to diversify our revenue sources so we're not relying so heavily on the tax rate itself.
That's great, thank you. As Wendy mentioned during her remarks, Nova Scotia GDP grew 2.6%, and 99% of that growth was in Halifax, which is amazing. The Halifax Chamber and many chambers across Canada have been advocating with provincial governments and federal governments for a new funding model for municipalities, as they often face the largest burden of significantly increased growth. Outside of tax increases, how do you see Halifax affording the infrastructure needs of one of Canada's fastest growing regions?
Great question, and Halifax isn't alone, by the way. So because of that, the Federation of Canadian Municipalities is leading a national campaign. I believe it's called a Prosperous Partnership, something like that. Prosperous Partnership between municipalities and the federal and government, and of course they're also asking for participation from provincial governments. So this is very important. Any way that we can relieve what in HRM's case is an 82% reliance on the tax rate to meet the annual budget. So in other words, of the $1.34 billion budget we just passed, 82% of that funding is coming from the tax rate. If we look at cities like Calgary, it's more like 45%, Edmonton's around 59%. Winnipeg is down at 30%. Winnipeg does benefit from about 30% of their budget coming from the provincial government. So this raises this question and what FCM, the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, is interested in. So I think the reality in Canada is we are moving toward a new partnership between municipalities and the senior levels of government to help to pay for the cost of growth and to make sure our communities remain viable.
Great. During the election, transportation issues were the #1 issue for residents in Halifax, according to multiple polls. You talked about it today. Can you provide a bit of an overview of some of the initiatives underway to improve public transit and reduce congestion?
Yeah, congestion is something that we're all experiencing in a way that is, I think, quite new to us. It's reached some levels that we had never seen before in Halifax. So and the investments that we make into transit, and I'm very happy that the executive director of Halifax Transit is here today. He's new on the job and already shaking things up, if I could borrow a phrase from myself. So that's really going to be important for him to continue to lead the rollout of the bus rapid transit program, improving reliability across the board. These are the things that will help to get people out of their cars, and that of course is the quickest way to reduce congestion. I've mentioned my interest in making better use of the abundant water surface we have all around us for a variety of different modes of transportation. So those things are important. We have to continue to capitalize on funding from other orders of government. We were just the beneficiary of a $55 million contribution from the federal government to help us electrify buses and build the infrastructure that supports electric buses. So there's a lot we need to be doing, and it's going to be very expensive, and it kind of goes back to your previous question about how do we pay for it. It's going to take partnerships.
Great. Okay. I'm going to ask one last question. Obviously, the recent trade war with the U.S. has many businesses worried. However, Halifax's economy is well positioned to navigate it. In fact, the Canadian Chamber just published a report that said that of the cities in Canada, Halifax was actually 35th city to kind of feel the significant impact, Windsor understandably being probably #1 with autos. How do you think the city could help to support businesses, particularly in the downtown areas, to help them thrive during this period of uncertainty?
There are a number of things we can be doing, I think, and you've hit on it. We are lucky in a way. We're down low on that list at 35, and some of the cities that share a land border with the United States that are more directly impacted. We took a look at council with the CIO's help about how Halifax itself is spending money as a body corporate, and we're glad to learn that through our procurement processes, well over, I think it's in the 99% that we're buying Canadian goods and services. So that's going to be really important. We can do more. We're bound by some provincial legislation around procurement, and if there was some movement there that would allow a pro-Canadian bias, which currently the legislation does not, that might help us to do things even that would benefit local businesses and Canadian businesses even more. But if I could just bring it right down to the ground level here in Halifax, whether it's in a time of a tariff crisis or if it's just an ordinary Tuesday, the council and the city needs to be finding ways to support local businesses in a really clear way, whether that's through keeping a really fair tax rate, whether that's through cutting red tape, whether it's through issuing permits more rapidly and allowing the wheels of commerce to move at the speed of innovation and entrepreneurship and not necessarily at the pace of government is really important. So I think we have things we can do better there as well.
Well, that sounds pretty good. It sounds like you're using my speech, actually. That's really good. Really good.
We've known each other for a long time.
We have. So at this point, I'll ask Wendy Luther to come back to the stage for a few more comments. You and I can just hang out here, if that's okay.
I'll just say one more comment, Pat.
Sure.
Back in 2015, I was a brand new MP. You were a brand new CEO at the Halifax Chamber of Commerce. And one of the first events we did together is we had the then new Minister of Finance, Bill Morneau, on the stage. And you gave him quite a going over that day. And I remember thinking to myself, geez, I hope I never wind up on the stage with Pat Sullivan. You took it easy on me today. Thank you.
Well, no. Save the hard questions.
Well, thank you, Patrick, and thank you, Mayor Fillmore, for your inspiring remarks and your commitment to making Halifax thrive. Your efforts and the work of your colleagues on Regional Council and CAO Kathy O'Toole and HRM staff drive Halifax's continued success. I'd like to close by thanking our co-host, the Halifax Chamber of Commerce,
Thank you.
Thank you. And today's sponsors, presenting sponsor RBC, and host sponsors the Nova Scotia Association of Realtors and Halifax Regional Municipality, and all of you for joining us. On behalf of the Halifax Partnership, please mark your calendars and join us on Thursday, June 5th for our next event in the Productivity Puzzle Initiative with Canadian economist Trevor Tombe. Also join us on June 19th for our AGM and the release of the 2025 Halifax Index presented by TD Bank. And please visit our website for more information and registration details coming soon. And if you are a Halifax Partnership investor, we will chase you down and until you register as our guest. Now, finally, do not forget the Chamber Spring Dinner is April 30th. I will be there. I hope you will all be there. Patrick will certainly be there. And it will be an incredible 7-course dinner. So with that, I wish you tremendous productivity and prosperity. Be well, stay safe, and have a great rest of your day.
If I could just, can I get the mic one more time? If I could get the mic one more time, I got it, that's okay. If I could just mention one more time, as Wendy said, April 30th is the dinner, but I also want to mention that instead of a gift for Mayor Fillmore, perhaps understandably, we will be making a donation to his choice of charity, which is Upward Mobility Kitchens. So thank you very much, everybody, and thanks again to the Convention Center. Thanks, everybody.